Hey there. I'm Clara, and I've been on a roller coaster that I used to call my marriage for the near 2 decades. I know numbers, that's my game, I'm an economist. But I'll let you in on a secret, give me a drab room and a fresh lick of paint and I'll give you a masterpiece. That's where I really shine. Now, Tom, he's a whole different story. The guy's got brains, I'll give him that. Financial analyst, and a damn good one. We met back in college, both of us bright-eyed with textbooks in hand. Dreamt of the big family, the white picket fence, the whole shebang. Turns out, life had other plans. Docs gave us the hard truth, with me, babies just weren't going to happen. Crushed us for a while, yeah, but we bounced back, sorta. We decided, if not a house filled with kids' laughter, we'd fill it with something else, style, charm, call it what you will. We found this house, and signed up for a multi-year mortgage. A beast of a place, years upon years on its bones, creaking like an old ship. Most would have walked away, but not us, we saw what it could be. I remember walking through the door the first time, the smell of dust and forgotten times in the air. Tom was right alongside me, and he was talking big plans, like he did. You see this, Clara? This place is ours. A bit of elbow grease, and we'll make it into something. I laughed, shaking my head at his excitement. Elbow grease? Tom, this place will take more than that. But we'll do it. Room by room. The first couple of years were rough. Juggling jobs and paintbrushes, learning how to fix a pipe without flooding the kitchen. But every evening, we sat amid the chaos of renovation, beers in hand, and it felt like we were invincible. One night, in the middle of an argument about what color the living room should be, he wanted blue, I wanted green, he threw his hands up and cussed. Damn it, Clara, pick whichever. It's just a color. I shot back, just a color? Tom, this is important. It sets the whole mood of the house. I was half mad, half laughing, because who gets into a tiff over paint? The green one, by the way. He said it made my eyes look brighter, and that was that. Every choice, every little victory was ours. Then the house started taking shape, and I got a taste for it, really got a taste for it. The neighbors, friends, they couldn't stop yapping about how I turned the old wreck into something out of a magazine. Each room was a new project, a challenge that I chewed on until it was just right. The transformation wasn't just the house, it was me too. Here I was, sleeves rolled up, covered in paint splatters, fiercer than I ever felt pushing papers at my old economics gig. Holy mackerel, Clara, did you redo the bathroom again? Tom asked one evening, eyebrows raised higher than the new shower head. Yep, didn't like the first tiles we picked. These are better, see? I slapped the wall, proud as hell. He leaned in, squinting at the tiles. Looks the same to me, but if it makes you happy, then I'm all for it. Typical Tom, always played it cool, but I knew he was impressed. When the Lewis family from next door came over for dinner, Mrs. Lewis almost dropped her casserole walking into the dining room. I had to stifle a laugh. I'm sorry, Clara, but this is just... It's gorgeous. You did this? She was all wide-eyed, turning in circles, taking it all in. I shrugged, trying to act like it was no big deal, but inside I was buzzing. Yeah, I did. Got sick of the wallpaper and thought I'd try something new. New? This is a dang masterpiece. Mr. Lewis chimed in, his face all grins. That's it, I'm done with beige. Mrs. Lewis declared, like she was about to start a revolution. The compliments were one thing, but the kicker? When people started asking if I'd take a look at their places, offer some advice. Then one lady, bless her, asked what I'd charge for a full room makeover. That's when the light bulb went off. Tom, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a go at this design thing full-time, I said that night, my head full of dreams and schemes. Tom looked up from his paper. Full-time, huh? You sure you're ready for that? I clenched my jaw but kept my cool. I've never been more sure of anything. Well, then you better get to it. No sense in waiting around. he said, and went back to his reading. Not exactly a parade in my honor, but Tom was never one for big displays. He didn't say much while I set up shop, turned the spare bedroom into my office. He'd pass by the door, give a little nod if he caught my eye. Transformed the tangled mess of our yard into a garden people stopped to admire. I'd see him out there, leaning on the fence talking with passers-by about the flowers and the shrubs like he knew what he was talking about. One afternoon he came back inside, shaking his head. Some guy out there just offered me $50 to talk to his wife about doing up their yard. Can you believe that? I grinned, leaning back in my chair. We're a hot commodity, what can I say? With every chair I reupholstered and every light fixture I swapped out, my confidence surged. It was real work, getting your hands dirty, making things beautiful. And people paid for it, who would have thought? The hardest part was the learning curve, hanging drywall and not have it look like a dog's breakfast or figuring out plumbing without creating an indoor pool. But it was a good hard, you know? Satisfying. I finally felt like I was in the driver's seat of my own life, taking control and steering myself towards something that was mine and mine alone. Our house, with its fresh coat of me on every wall, every floorboard, it wasn't just a bunch of projects anymore. It was a signpost, pointing me to where I needed to go. Things were getting busier by the day, my phone was constantly buzzing with new clients, and my schedule was a jigsaw puzzle I was somehow supposed to piece together. Tom had been supportive of my work, but something had shifted lately. As my plate piled up, his seemed to empty, chores and all. "Mornin'," I greeted Tom, as I trudged into the kitchen, stepping over a pile of his work shirts. He grunted back, eyes glued to his laptop. At least he used to help with breakfast. "The basket's overflowing, Tom. Your turn, yeah?" I hinted, nudging the basket with my foot so it spilled onto the floor, hoping he'd take the hint. He sighed, not looking up. "Why? You're home all day." I stopped in my tracks. "Say what now?" "Look, you're always here," Tom continued, a little more carefully now, like he sensed the storm brewing. "Makes sense for you to handle the house stuff." "Handle the house stuff?" I repeated, my voice edged with disbelief. "I'm running a business, not sitting around here twiddling my thumbs." Tom's gaze finally broke from his screen. "Yeah, but I have to get to the office." I was about to argue, but the phone rang. Saved by the bell, or cursed, given it was another job to add to the pile. As the days rolled on, the pattern held. Tom's leave-behinds, coffee cups in the living room, newspapers scattered on the dining table, and those darn socks everywhere. You'd think he was trying to mark his territory. "Come on, Tom, this isn't the you I know," I said one Saturday morning, dishes clanking as I loaded the dishwasher with last night's remnants. "You used to care about this stuff." We were like two ships in the night, and I ain't talking about the romantic kind. He was off first thing, back when I was hip-deep in swatches and samples, and by the time he rolled back in, I was dead to the world on the couch, tablet still in hand. "Listen, Tom, we can't go on like this," I said one evening, dishes done, with enough energy left over to tackle what was really bothering me. "We're supposed to be a team." He looked like a teenager caught out past curfew. "Look, Clara, I just don't see the problem." I laughed, but it wasn't the happy kind. "You don't see? Okay. How about we start with you acting like this place is a hotel and I'm the service?" He opened his mouth, then shut it, like the right words had taken a detour. "I'm not asking for much. Just do your share. Act like you live here. Because, spoiler alert, you do." Tom ran a hand through his hair, looking like he wished he could disappear into the couch cushions. "Fine, I'll pick up the slack." "And?" I pressed. "And I'll start by sorting the laundry." "Now we're talking." I nodded, my arms crossed, but my lips trying not to smile, because it was either that or scream. It was a small victory, but I take M where I can get M. It was a reminder that for all the work, all the late nights and color palettes and textures and fittings, If your foundation is shaky, the whole house feels it. And I wasn't just talking about the renovations. I started noticing Tom was glued to his phone more these days. Eyes almost stuck to the screen. And then there was that haircut, the kind young folks are wearing, shaved on the sides and longer on top. When I asked him about it, he just shrugged it off, saying something about wanting a change. To me, it screamed midlife crisis loud and clear. It was finally the day we'd been plowing towards for what felt like forever. The mortgage was paid off. That was supposed to be our light at the end of the tunnel, our big reason to celebrate. So, on my way back from work, I dropped by the liquor store and picked up a bottle of the good stuff, the type that would make your wallet weep. I also got fancy cheeses, the sort with names too difficult to pronounce, and those artisan crackers that Tom liked. I was all set to surprise him. Walking into the house, everything was too quiet. Usually, Tom would be home by now, dinner on the go or some music playing. Not today. The place was dead silent. I called out for him, my voice disappearing into the silence. "Tom, you here?" "Nothing." I wasn't too worried at first. He could have stepped out for something, I thought. Maybe he went to get flowers, to add to the celebration, I hoped. I made my way to the living room and started getting the place ready for when he'd return. It was going to be a good night. We'd earned it. The expensive red would breathe a little, I'd get the snacks looking nice on plates, and we'd cheers to no more damn bank payments. But then I saw them, papers neatly stacked on the coffee table. Not thinking much of it, I reached over and that's when my heart took the first hit. Divorce papers with Tom's name already scribbled at the bottom in his unmistakable handwriting. For a good few minutes, all I could do was stand there. It felt like one of those prank shows where the joke's gone too far. But this was no joke. The realization sank its claws into me, and I could feel my hands shaking, my face hot. Damn it, Tom, what the hell is this? But I was talking to an empty house. I chucked the bottle of wine onto the couch, who cares if it stains, and sat down hard at the coffee table. This wasn't something you slip into conversation, this was a bang, it's over, out of nowhere slap in the face. I tried calling him. It just rang and rang before his voicemail casually invited me to leave a message. So I sat there for hours, waiting for him to walk through the door. I kept picking up my phone, checking if there were any missed calls, any texts. Nothing. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. The snacks lay forgotten and the bottle of red sat there, the unopened symbol of what was supposed to be our celebration. I remember when we bought this house. We thought this was it, we were set. But now there were just divorce papers and silence. And with every minute he didn't show up, didn't call, it was becoming crystal clear that he wanted out. But he couldn't even tell me to my face. Couldn't even give me a crappy excuse. Tom didn't come, and he didn't call. And I was left alone with a bunch of papers I never wanted, telling a story I didn't sign up for. When Tom walked in the next day, he wasn't alone. There she was, some young girl, looking at me like I'm yesterday's news. But this house, our house, she was eyeing it like it was hers already. "Oh, I wouldn't change a thing," she said as she flounced from room to room. "Except maybe the paint in the living room, brighten things up a bit. Don't you think it's a bit stuffy in here?" Her words, like she's marking her territory. Tom followed her like a lost puppy, then turned to me, "Brazen as you like. We will live here, Clara. In this house. With my new wife." I felt the anger boiling up inside, but I caught a look in his eyes, or maybe it was hers, and just like that, an idea sparked in my head. "Is that so?" I finally said, schooled my features into something calm, too calm. She pranced back in, still taking it all in, claiming it with her greedy little eyes. "Yes," she purred, "it'll do just fine." And then she looks at me like I'm some sort of bug under her shoe. But I'm not. I am the bug that knows where the dirt's hidden, knows exactly what to do when the time's right. I watched them, like a hawk eyeing its prey. "Tom, he's talking numbers and moving dates, but I ain't listening. I'm plotting, thinking of every little way I could turn this back on them. Finally, I just smiled at them both. It wasn't a happy smile, but that's not what this was about. This was about wait and see, about holding your cards close to your chest. So I nodded. All right then. Tom paused, probably expected me to yell or throw something. But no, I'm playing this smarter. All right, he echoed, confused, searching my face for the catch. Yeah, all right. You two lovebirds deserve each other. The girl beamed, clueless, thinking she's got it made. And Tom, he had this look, like maybe he's dodged a bullet. But really, he's just fired the starting gun. I turned away to hide the grin spreading across my face. They think they've won, got it all figured out. But little do they know, I've got plans of my own. The game's just begun, and I'm about to make my move. I sat across from Tom at the kitchen table, a bunch of papers spread out between us. Let's make this quick, I said, tapping my fingers on the tabletop. I want my $200,000, what I put into the mortgage. I'm taking my stuff, and that's that. He was half listening, his eyes drifting to where his girlfriend was hanging around like an eager puppy waiting for a treat. Yeah, sounds fair, he mumbled, not taking his gaze off her. A smile, cruel and all mine, lifted the corners of my mouth. And by my stuff, I mean everything I bought. All of it. Sure, whatever. He was nodding along, not really caring or not realizing. Probably both. Tom's attention was all for the young thing, who was now stroking the back of the leather couch, one that I bought on a whim 3 years back because it looked classy and comfortable. We went down the inventory I'd prepared, point by point, and not once did he argue. Not when I claimed the flat-screen TV, not when I tallied up the kitchen gadgets, the high-end mixer, the chef's knives, the espresso machine that took me ages to pick out. With a distracted wave of his hand, he signed where I pointed on each paper. Signed our years away with less thought than he gave his fantasy football league. It took everything I had not to slam my fist on the table to get him to actually look at what he was giving up. But why bother? I was getting what I came for. And so, it was done. We signed our names, cleared the path for new beginnings, or in his case, a shiny new mistake. While Tom wandered out of the room, probably to chase his giggling girlfriend, I stayed put, relishing the weightlessness of ending it all. I heard her before I saw her, her voice like tinkling glass, all fake and pretty. She came into the kitchen, one-eyed turned from a 70s nightmare into a modern foodie paradise, and she ran her fingers along the granite countertops. He never cooked a thing in his life, I thought, and she probably can't boil water. You're old, but you have good taste, she said to me, a backhanded compliment wrapped in a sweet tone that didn't reach her eyes. I looked her up and down, my gaze pointed. Honey, good taste doesn't have an expiration date. But let's see how long your novelty lasts around here. And with that, I grabbed the box filled with photo albums, my favorite coffee mug, and a collection of fridge magnets from every state I'd visited and walked out without a backward glance. I didn't need to look back to know she was still standing there, probably puzzled by my refusal to fight. Good taste indeed. Let her find out, like I did, that marble and leather mean nothing without someone real to share it with. I had my memories, my dignity, and soon enough, a bank account that would turn that house into a distant memory. Moving day had all the drama of a bad TV show. Tom just stood there, mouth hanging open, as the movers made trip after trip out the door. Couch, gone. The fancy heaters I'd haggled for, gone. And yeah, when I said everything, I meant the kitchen sink too. That was a masterpiece of stainless steel, and it was mine when I walked in. It was mine walking out. His girl, what's her face, she lost it. Standing there in designer heels on the hardwood floor I picked out. This wasn't the deal, she hollered like she was calling the shots now. I leaned against the doorframe, every piece of paper with Tom's signature a shield. Deal was I take what's mine. That's it. Tom finally found his voice, a little wobbly but there. Clara, let's talk about this. There's gotta be. I cut him off with a wave of my hand. talk? You signed, Tom. As clear as day. Everything I bought, I take. He ran a hand through his hair, the way he did when he realized he was in over his head. But the sink, Clara? Come on. I didn't budge. You should have read the list. Not my problem, you were too busy with her. I nodded towards his plaything, who was now scowling like a kid who'd been told Christmas was cancelled. But where are we gonna wash dishes now? She piped up, hands on her hips like she was in some sort of showdown. I couldn't help it, I laughed. Guess you'll figure it out, won't you? Tom paced now, a caged animal sort of look about him. Clara, we can't just. We need some of this stuff. How about the heaters? It's winter. I glanced at the wall where the heater used to be. Close work. Or hey, maybe you two can snuggle up for warmth. Clara. His voice cracked. Typical. Always loud when he was losing. We had an agreement, Tom. You agreed to 200 grand and for me to take my things. Well, I'm taking my things. That's fairness. That's getting what I'm owed. He went quiet, that defeated slump setting into his shoulders. His girl, she still didn't get it, feet stuck to the ground, her face twisted. This is total crap. I shrugged on my coat, the one I used to leave hanging on the hook, by the door. Your problems aren't my problems anymore, sweetie. I put on my sunglasses, grabbed my purse, and stepped out into the cold. The movers had the last few boxes ready to go, and I gave them the nod. Time to move on. Behind me, the door to the house stood open, letting out all the warmth. A pretty good metaphor, maybe, but I wasn't in the mood for poetry. I was in the mood for starting fresh. As I pulled away, I left them standing in an empty house that was once full of everything but love. Love they'd have to find on their own, without the comforts I'd brought into their lives. A month had flown by since the split, my new life slowly taking shape, when my phone buzzed with a number I knew too well. My ex, sounding all choked and lost, was on the line. I can't do this anymore, he groaned. I'm cooking, cleaning, it's all me, all day long. He told me how his young wife did squat, just flicked her thumbs on her phone screen or waltzed out with her pals. He was learning the hard way, juggling pots and pans, scrubbing toilets, and handling laundry. Please, can we try again? I made a mistake, he was practically begging, that note in his voice, like he'd never known a day's work in his life. I held the phone, a smile cracking across my face. You've got some nerve, I chuckled into the receiver. But you made your bed, now lie in it. Hanging up felt like dropping the heaviest bag I'd been carrying without knowing. Released from that old deadweight, I threw myself into my latest project, my very own house. Yeah, you heard that right, my house, not ours, not his, but my very own. As I stood in the entranceway, my new place was bustling with voices and footsteps. A blank canvas waiting for me to splash it with life. Hey lady, where do you want this box? One of the movers called out, struggling under a carton labeled kitchen stuff. Over there, by the counter, I directed, pointing him to the spot. The advance guard of my new abode was just me and a crew who didn't care about the past, just where to lug the next heavy thing. They'd drop a box, wipe their brows and ask where the next goes. A dance of starting anew. That night, with the boxes still piled high, it hit me, this wasn't just a new page, it was a whole other book. And I was going to fill it with wonders and blunders, scribbles, and scenes that made sense only to me. It's funny, how you think you need someone to make a house a home. But all you really need is to surround yourself with things that make you, well, you. Starting over? Yeah, let's paint this town with my kind of life.